Hello everyone, thank you for tuning into our YouTube channel, Cape Coral Cell Phone Repair TV. As you can see, today we are going to replace the screen of the Samsung Galaxy A13 5G, model number SMA136U. So this phone, as you can see, looks fine, but there's a little crack there on the glass. You can see the crack, the hairline crack going that way. And we are going to replace just the glass assembly. So we have our glass assembly here. This is the display. This is the only part we're going to replace today. And as you can see, the first thing you want to do is remove the SIM tray. Now, a little tip, let me turn it off first, just to make sure the power is off. As you can see, we put a little tape there that's kind of like a high visible color, and the reason is because right below these cameras right here, there's some sensitive wires that you don't want to strip or damage while you're prying the actual casing. So you can do that, you can mark it however you want to do it, just so you don't damage it. But one thing you want to pay attention to, and we already did it here, let me just get my tool here, is when you're prying, okay, when you're prying, you want to make sure you're prying in the right location. The reason I mention that is some people have tried prying right at the top tip here where the glass starts. That's not where you're going to pry. If you're just removing the back, you want to pry this way like you're seeing here. And let me see if I can get a better shot there. Okay? And then it's like snap, crackle, and pop. As you slide your tool through it, it's just going to pop up. Very simple. And if you want, you can use plastic if you feel safer. Once you pop it, you can use plastic, and where it's a little tricky sometimes is around the corners. But you see that? It just popped up, and it's just snap, crackle, pop. Now, notice I'm getting closer to that area. I put it there as a reference. There's a reason for that. So I'm going to kind of stop there. And the next thing I'm going to do is continue over on this side. Same way. We're going to continue prying. And when you get to that corner, if your prying tool is a little flexible, you can get around that corner. You might have it to try a few times. Just be patient with it. Don't worry. Let's see. Sometimes it'll just snap out the rest of the ways. There we go. So I just felt that little snap, so there you go, it popped up. You got to be patient with it, don't worry. Just take your time with it. And once you're at the top here, same way. Just going to continue prying. Once you get here, the rest of it should come up. Now notice what's going to happen when I open this, and that's why you see that tape right around here is where you want to be careful, right under the camera. Look at this, right under the camera. You see that wire right there. Look at my finger in the back. This is the camera hole right here, and just underneath there is where you want to be careful. So as you can see, the cable's intact, but you do want to be careful, because if you damage that, you're going to have to replace that part. So let's get it down this way and continue showing you what's next. Okay, here we are again. So I got my electric screwdriver, and we're going to go ahead and start removing the screws. All right, once the screws are removed to the top portion, you can just pop this out. And the next thing you want to do is disconnect the battery, and you can use a spudger prying tool. Make sure it's plastic, not metal, and disconnect the battery. That's the first thing you want to do. Right after that, you're going to see this connector here. It's a metal piece. Make sure you take that out, set it to the side. That's just right above the connector, just to protect it from popping out. And by the way, this is the fingerprint sensor flex cable. So once that's out of the way, you can put this to the side if you wish to do so. battery's already disconnected, then we can continue removing the bottom part. Okay, once the screws are out, this bottom piece will come out. Set it to the side. Then disconnect the cable, the flex cable, to the front screen. Now in this particular phone, if we are just replacing the screen display, we do not need to remove the battery. This cable should go straight through and to the display. But what we need to do first is heat it up. So we have our, take this, put it off to the side. We have our very own heat mat here, which is part of the Pro Mat RS30. And again, I would recommend this mat. I will post a link in the description, but all I have to do from my control is just heat it up. I'm going to heat it up to 85 degrees Celsius. And once it reaches 85 degrees Celsius, I'm going to put the display face down just like you see it for 5 minutes. And then that should soften the adhesive to make it easier to take apart. So I'm going to do that next. All right, once it's off the heat, we're going to attempt to separate the glass from the frame. And the key here is heat. You want to make sure you have plenty of heat to do that, and then just slide a prying tool. Make sure you use a very thin tool like what you're seeing me do now. And what you're basically doing is you're cutting the adhesive that's holding it down, but the adhesive is going to be already somewhat soft, making this process a little bit easier. And you can see I'm wearing gloves because it is quite hot. So just keep going around it. See that? And for reference, what you can do is have the other screen there, so you kind of know where the bottom part here, where these electronics are, so you're a little extra careful around that area. You just want to be patient with it, and soon after that it should just start to pop up. Again, the key is using good amount of heat. And as you can see, it is already off the frame. You can attempt to pry this area as well, down here at the bottom. Once the screen is completely out, what you want to do is, before you glue the new screen down, is you want to make sure that this frame here is nice and clean. So what I like to do is use a little bit of alcohol. So you can use some alcohol like this, but before you put the phone down like this, what I do is the battery connector, I just flip it over this way so that it doesn't accidentally plug in there. Just keep it like that. Just like you can see there, you can see a little bit of it sticking out, and then just go ahead and put some light amount of glue in here. And then just, you can use a swab or a little rag. It's just to get all the excess glue out. You want to make sure you do a nice clean job so that the glue will do the rest, and that the glue will stick in there and adhere perfectly. You don't want to be sloppy. Make sure you do a good job. Take pride in what you do. And then just get a nice little rag. Reach over and get one. Like I said, you can use a swab if you want, or a rag. You should see some debris come off, just like you see there. If you use a good amount of heat, just like we showed you here, 85 degrees for 5 minutes, it'll come right out, and all the excess glue will be on the display. And with removing the display, it's hit and miss. You know, sometimes you might have a a good display where you can reuse it for refurbishing. Other times you don't. I've been meticulous about taking them out, and I don't get many that are bad, but I always do test them. Sometimes you do a really good job taking it out as far as being meticulous, and even like that, the screen just doesn't work. So it's hit and miss when you're removing screens, but make sure you do a good job with regards to making sure that your surface area is clean. Therefore the glue will do the rest as far as adhering. So once that's done, then you're ready to glue and put the new screen right over it. So let's go ahead and get the glue. Alright, so we got our screen display ready, and what we're going to do next is we're going to fish it right through that hole opening, and we're just going to make sure that this little part here, this connector, also goes through. Okay, so if you notice, I use plastic, don't use metal there. Here we go. I'm going to put the connector down. Connect it here as well. Connect the battery. So once you plug it in, you just want to make sure that you have display, just like you see there. We have display on there. Next thing we're going to do is just go ahead and put everything back together. So there you go, we have display on there. It's charging just fine. So remember, we have the plate that goes on the top and all these screws, and then you have the connector, and of course your little plastic pieces, top and bottom, and then the SIM card tray. So let's go ahead and finish the rest of the install. So once you've snapped everything back in place, just get some alcohol and wipe down the sides if you might have had any glue spill over from when you glued the actual frame to the glass, or the glass of the frame. And you can sometimes even peel it with your finger, but don't be afraid of that, of the glue kind of spilling over. It's no big deal. People like to stress about it, but it's no big deal. Just wipe it out later once it's already hardened. You don't want to do it while it's still wet, but once it's hardened, you can do that. It's good to clamp it down. We clamp it down for about 30 minutes, and the clamp helps glue it really well. But then you can just take out any excess glue. You see that on the sides. It'll come off. It's no big deal. So as you can see, once you're done, just want to make sure that your sides are all nice and clean. Make sure you don't have any glue overspill. Like I mentioned, it's nothing to worry about. Just want to wait till it dries up pretty good. And then don't forget to put in your SIM card tray back in there. Make sure you put it in the right direction, and make sure it goes right in there the way it's supposed to go. Some people put it in backwards, just like there, and as you can see, it's good to go. So there it is, the Samsung Galaxy A13 5G model. The model number is A136U, and again, this is a 5G phone. And as you can see, we just replaced the screen on it, the entire display, without having to remove the frame or anything. We just took the display portion out of it, and it's good to go. Anyway, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to our channel. If you have any questions or comments, post it in the comment section below, and check out the links we posted of all the tools we used, including the electric screwdriver. Thank you for watching.